You are listening to DBN, Demigod Broadcasting Network. And this is Exploring Olympus. Good afternoon. My name is Lady Mary Fiona Stewart MacDonald, and I'll be your host for this episode. We are broadcasting remotely, without a studio audience, from the ruins of Urquhart Castle, overlooking the world-famous Loch Ness and the home of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Today's special guest lecturer is one I've dreamed of seeing again, in person, so that I could personally spit in his face. However, I recognize to someone with his filthy sexual appetites that could be construed as an invitation for foreplay. Alas, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is now a very serious crime to do so. Not to mention the idea of having... My apologies. I can't even finish that thought without retching. For the record, my older brother, the Honourable Sir Alistair William Stewart MacDonald, attended Eton College with Buggery Brackenridge, my sweet nickname for him while he dated my brother. The miserable sod turned out to be the worst boyfriend for my brother, because he was too obsessed with making a name for himself, even at the expense of my family's name. His discovery of a previously unknown tomb located on our family's estate of King Henry VI, Surgeon John Marshall's administrative assistant, Colette Marguerite Baptiste de la Fayette de la Mama, a woman who was also a siren and known for her supernatural powers of charm, song, and dictation. It was said she could type 2,000 words a minute, could take dictation from the dead, and much to my family's embarrassment, Colette had 2 additional breasts that secreted a nectar so delicious and addictive that it was enjoyed by many, including a direct descendant of my great-great-grandfather. Deniability was impossible, as a painting by the famous Tudor court painter Gerald Hornbout depicted our descendant suckling at Colette's breast. The painting now resides in the National British Museum. Mother was so horrified and still hasn't come out of her private suite of rooms in Kensington Palace, refusing to even allow their Royal Highnesses the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge in for elevensies. Buggery Brackenridge went on to graduate from Oxford University, a stain that university can't seem to scrub away, and later became a TV host for the biggest worldwide flop, Let's See What We Can Discover, and now manages to post pet videos, of all things, and bore the world with one lecture after another. I present, for your misery, Dr. Sebastian Brackenridge, as he discusses Pandora and her box. Funny, how can he discuss a woman's box having never seen one?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Canned applause. Thank you. Oh, stop. Yes, it's me. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. Hello, dear chickens. Yes, it is I, your adoring Dr. Sebastian Brackenridge, coming to you from the outdoors beside the stunningly beautiful Loch Ness. And dear, oh dear, Fiona. Well, isn't it funny how life always seems to find a way of bringing one's past into the present? I have so many fond memories of my romance with Alistair, along with some rather creepy moments caused by his twin sister Fiona, who was, shall I say, a little too close with her brother. Having your boyfriend call out another man's name at the point of orgasm is one thing. Having that name be his sister Fiona is quite another. When she called me to do this lecture, my first reaction was, "Oh my, Fiona, you must be scraping the bottom of the barrel to ask your brother's old flame to lecture. How this must be so incredibly painful for you. I would do anything to spare you this pain." And then I said, "Damn it all to hell, I'll do it." And how much I love visiting my dear, dear friend, the reclusive Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. I remember this one time. Nessie had me over for dinner in her well-appointed cave. It was sheer magic from start to finish, as she entertained me with numerous stories on how she managed to raise several children and keep her true identity a secret from her co-workers at the public relations firm of Bibbler, and Blink. Which, I assure you, is no easy task, as Nessie is strikingly tall with a somewhat elongated neck. Apparently ballet flats, a well-placed scarf, and glasses were the key to hide her identity. But she did manage, even as a single mother, after Mr. Loch Ness ran off with a Tesco grocery clerk. But I digress. Today, chickens, we will take a deep dive into a tale of two brothers and a girl made of clay. Yes, you guessed it. I will be lecturing you on Pandora's filthy box. And when I say deep, I mean bollocks deep. Although, I should offer a warning. Anyone listening to this podcast will need to seek medical help. I strongly suggest an extra strong dose of penicillin when we are through. So let's go. I know you will find this hard to believe, but the story of Pandora is a complex one, muddled by the Olympians' constant need to make it all about themselves. So at the end of this tale, if you are scratching your head, or, unfortunately, other body parts, find solace in knowing you are not alone. As a matter of fact, globally, more than 1 million STIs are acquired every day. Ew. So, let me take you back to a time where there wasn't anything exciting going on for the Olympians. The Olympian royal court was a bit of a joke. An Olympian appearance request was the equivalent of getting an invitation from dull as dishwater Lavinia from Downton Abbey. You remember poor Lavinia? A pretty little thing who was really, really nice, and had a penchant for board games, explaining in detail how to make Irish lace. And, well, ended up dying miserably from Spanish flu. The doctor was right. The Spanish flu was tricky business. But then he thought stubbing a toe was also tricky business. I wonder if he is serving on Trump's COVID-19 pandemic council. Anyway, back to the gods. So the gods looked down upon the earth and decided, why the hell not? And they began to play with their newly rediscovered source of inspiration. Enter the renowned Olympian party-hardy brother duo, Epimetheus and Prometheus. Think of them as the Liam and Chris Hemsworth of Olympia. Not necessarily the sharpest tools in the box, but they were certainly delicious to behold and hold. And don't you dare criticize me for stating that the Hemsworth brothers' light bulbs don't burn very bright. The one married Miley Cyrus, for God's sakes. Who would have thought a girl that runs AC/DC and has the fashion sense of a walking STD wouldn't be cut out for monogamous matrimony? Please. Although I do adore Miley. Love her music and her message. Just don't like her breaking the heart of that hunk. That's an achy breaky I'd like to put a Band-Aid on. A little unknown fact about the brothers was they weren't even Olympians, boys and girls. They were Titans, and not just any Titans. Specifically, Prometheus was pivotal in securing victory for Zeus and the Olympians during the Titan Wars. Remember that little morsel, because it does come back and bite Zeus in the posterior. So, my darlings, picture the Earth still in its infancy. Not the embryonic stage, or learning to use the potty stage. So somewhere in between. The oceans, the continents, atmosphere, and Cher were all well established. Yes, dear ones, Cher is ageless. Probably one of the original Titans, if you ask me. I mean, really, the woman is in her 70s and still can wear that if I could turn back time outfit. If that's not an immortal with a rich voice and a preference to dress like a drag queen, then I'm not gay. But mark my words, she'll be still traveling around on her 500th farewell tour when you lot will be pushing up the daisies. But, again, I digress. So, the brothers, the two twin Titans. I know, dear listener. Twins! How delicious! Who wouldn't want to be the meat sandwich between those two? Prometheus, Theus to his friends, the Titan of forethought, was the creator of both animals and humanity from clay. He was considered ingenious and clever, while also being quite the trickster. He's the guy with both the looks and the brains that makes you wonder if there is a god, and how unfair God is. More on that little fact later, ducks. On the other hand, there was his brother, Epimetheus, Epi to his friend, you know, like the allergy pen, who was the Titan of afterthought. The Titan equivalent of you getting off the phone with someone you despise after a heated discussion, and the moment you click end call, the most delicious insult comes to mind. But alas, it's too late. Epi was considered incredibly foolish, and according to a close friend, not one to turn down a gay-for-pay opportunity. Those with premium subscriptions to Pornhub.com will know what I'm talking about. I was told under the strictest of confidences, dear chickens, that Epi would accept as forms of payment cash, a keg of beer, a gift card to Target, Old Navy, or Chicken Cottage fast food. In rare cases, he would also accept S&H green stamps. I personally believe he doth protest too much, since S&H green stamps, also called Green Shield stamps in the United Kingdom, went out of business in the 1980s. What is he going to do with all those S&H green stamps, I ask you? So Zeus called upon the twins to create from clay, name, and bestow various traits onto the animals that would inherit the earth. These animals included man. So Prometheus set to work creating the animal kingdom. Epimetheus became irritated because up to this point he was given nothing to do. Well, truth be told, Prometheus did try to assign some of the animal creations to Epimetheus. But when he came up with the duck-billed platypus, the blobfish, and the lamprey, the life-creating clay was substituted with Play-Doh instead. Epimetheus didn't catch on until the creation part of the job was nearly done. To make matters worse, Epimetheus had started making pornographic Play-Doh animals that he gleefully showcased during the Olympian Show and Tell program, upsetting Athena and Hera greatly. Prometheus realized he had no choice and offered the job to Epimetheus of giving out the positive attributes or traits to all of the animals. Now I have to stop right here. Remember earlier, chickens, when I mentioned these two brothers were a main course short of a dinner party? A few bricks short a load? 2 sandwiches short a picnic? Case in point, why would you give someone with a lack of forethought, remember Epimetheus was the Titan of afterthought, to distribute all positive attributes to all of the animals? It's not like Epimetheus had a spreadsheet he could work off of to ensure all animals receive some sort of positive traits. I mean, Epi hated Excel and couldn't bear to use Google Sheets of all things. And why wouldn't Theo, the Titan known for forethought, foresee that his moose of a brother would make a bloody mess of things? Thinking himself to be quite brilliant, Epi announced he had completed his work. All of the animals had received their positive attributes. Theus, deciding that it would be a good idea to have a gander at his brother's work, soon realized his brother's fatal error. While it was true that Epi had done an honorable job of trait distribution, he had failed to realize that animals included man. And having exhausted the attributes inventory, there was nothing left for man. This upset Prometheus greatly, so much so that he, in no uncertain terms, decided to taking the piss out of Epi's spotty accomplishment. Something had to be done, and Prometheus went into trickster mode. So, I'm sure by now you're wondering what has this got to do with Pandora and her filthy box. Well, stay with me, chickens, and you'll soon see how Prometheus, the trickster's activities, leads to Zeus's revenge, and that revenge and Pandora are one and the same. Okay, so realizing that man faced an existence of unending misery, Prometheus distracted his brother by giving him a pile of comic books to keep him occupied, and he concocted a plan to undo the damage Epi had done. Deciding he had no choice, Prometheus, whom, like a father seeing his child for the first time, had instantly fallen in love with his creation of man. Fallen in love with man? Get in line, Prometheus, I'm already there. Except not in a fatherly way. And because of the love he had for his creation, he determined that he would bestow upon man the attributes of the civilizing arts and fire, which he stole from Athena and Hephaestus, along with other Olympian deities of creative skills and technology. Ugh, Hephaestus. There's a name I can thank the gods went out of style. Hephaestus. Ugh. I mean really, Hephaestus. Do you know what her nickname was in the schoolyard? Children can be so cruel, especially Olympian children. They called her Herpes. Ugh, Hephaestus. This theft inflamed the already furious Zeus, because this had not been the first time Prometheus had tricked him. Naughty, naughty Prometheus. He was both literally and figuratively playing with fire. You see, Prometheus loved man so much that when there was to be a settling of accounts between mortals and immortals, Prometheus couldn't stand by and let Zeus get away with anything. The topic was sacrificial meals, in which animal sacrifices were made to the gods by the mortals, and the trickster couldn't resist. In front of Zeus he placed 2 sacrifices. A selection of beef hidden inside an ox's stomach. Ugh. Although I do love a good haggis. And the bull's bones wrapped completely in glistening fat. Now, chickens, I want you to guess just how stupid Zeus could be. I mean, really. The choice was between nourishment hidden inside a displeasing exterior, or something inedible hidden inside a pleasing exterior. Stuffed cabbage comes to mind. Blech. Foolish Zeus selected the latter, setting the precedent for future sacrifices, thereby giving mortals the ability to keep the meat for themselves and burn the bones wrapped in fat as an offering to the gods. In retribution for being tricked, Zeus stole back fire from the mortals, to which Prometheus, ever the determined hero, stole it again from Zeus and restored it back to humanity. Now, I know that I have mentioned this time and time again, but Zeus was the biggest drama queen. I can tell you numerous times when he threw a bit of a fit, including not being selected for the cheer squad, all because he wanted to be the top of the pyramid. Well, let me set the record straight. Zeus rarely tops. Oh my, Sebastian, stop it! Anyway, Zeus was beyond angry, or furious. Everyone was laughing at him. I can tell you, even I had my issues holding back a giggle or two at various Olympian soirees. Fearing his status as ruler of Olympus was in danger, Zeus sentenced Prometheus to an eternity of unending torture. Now, I know you're wondering, what was the horrible sentence? Was Prometheus sentenced to an eternity of giving Donald Trump elocution lessons? Or possibly made a sex slave to the American Senator Lindsey Graham, who prefers to be called Lady Graham by the male prostitutes he hires, and apparently laughs like Mickey Mouse when he reaches completion. Ooh. If that doesn't give you nightmares, nothing will. No, dear listeners, Zeus couldn't be that cruel. Zeus declared that thenceforth Prometheus would be chained to a rock, where an eagle would visit him daily and rip out his immortal liver, which would regenerate itself the next day. I personally thought the punishment did not fit the crime, especially considering how Prometheus had helped secure victory for the Olympians during the Titan War. Remember, dear hearts, I had mentioned this earlier as important. Imagine how horrible that must have been. Well, several years, numerous hundreds, who knows? I never kept track, you know. Anyway, several years of torture later, the strapping and delicious hunk Hercules, whom I tended to believe used way too much retro hair product like Dippity-Doo and Aquanet, rescued Prometheus from his chains. Swoon, dear listeners, swoon! Kind, gentle, and a man's man, Hercules determined it was up to him to right this wrong. Makes me wish I were chained to that rock myself, because you know me. I'd be so weak that Hercules would have to perform mouth-to-mouth. A lot. Because you can't be too careful with these things. Now, dear listeners, your patience are about to be rewarded. So let's rewind a little bit to the point right before Prometheus was being sentenced. One of the things that he had done was warned his brother, Epimetheus, to not, I repeat, not accept any gifts from the Olympians. Let that sit there for a while, and you'll guess Epi, the ever-loving idiot, didn't follow his brother's warning. Enter Pandora. So, while poor Prometheus's liver was being served tartar to the eagle, Zeus remained unsatisfied. Big surprise. His thirst was unquenchable, aka he was one thirsty bitch. Prior to the creation of this version of mortals, Zeus had destroyed 5 other versions of humanity. That was his whole deal, create and destroy. It was all rather boring, if you ask me. And when Prometheus realized Zeus had planned to do the same to his beloved creation, he interceded and changed Zeus's mind. So, all of this stealing of this and that was just one after another slap across Zeus's face. He wanted satisfaction against not only Prometheus, but also to what the Titan held so dear, the mortals. It was, if I remember correctly, it was during the Olympian Book Club. They were currently reading I Adore Cake, You Adore Cake, Let Them Eat Cake, the unauthorized biography of Queen Marie Antoinette. Right as Hera was about to offer her opinion on what sort of cake was offered to the masses, she seemed to believe it was German chocolate. Please note, I grimaced when she said as much. I abhor coconut. Zeus threw his book down, which sent several lightning bolts into the room. One of them hit me. Me, dear listeners. I still haven't been able to manage the resulting curl in my hair. My dear friend Sir Christian Frederick of Edinburgh now refers to my hair as hobbit hair. He calls me Bilbo Baggins, the horror of it all. Anyway, Zeus stated, I am tired of how ungrateful mortals have been to us. Have we given them everything? And what do we ask in return? A little love, a little kindness, a small mention every now and then. And yet, my dear Olympians, they cry for more, more, more. It is because of them that Prometheus suffers so. Just about everyone's mouth flew open in shock. I mean, really, the nerve of Zeus. And before she knew what she was doing, Hera offered, actually, you... and quickly shut her mouth as Zeus, her husband, gave her a look that made her think otherwise. Yes, she said, poor Prometheus. I suggest we create a test to see if they are worthy of Prometheus's and our attention. Let us create the first mortal woman. All right, ducks. I'm going to put it right out there that the Olympians were chauvinistic. Males against the females and vice versa. However, this was at a time when Zeus's rule meant the goddesses were second-class citizens. So what Zeus and the other male Olympians wanted was paramount. And I'm not talking about Paramount Pictures. But here is the little strange thing to consider. If this test was going to be the creation of the female mortal, what was happening down on Earth before then? I mean, really, it must have been quite the sausage fest. And what about Eve, Adam, or Tom, Dick, and Harry? And least we not forget the first wife of Adam, that gets very little mention. The headstrong and deliciously decadent Lilith. Poor Lil. She's the Jan Brady of the whole lot. There won't be a big party where this poor Jan can wear her big afro wig and make a big splash. But again, sorry chickens, I digress. So Zeus's plan was hatched. Gathering the most talented Olympians to his laboratory, where his faithful servant Igor, and don't you dare correct me on that pronunciation. This Igor was from Ireland, hence Igor. Well, anyway, Igor was throwing this switch and that, rattling chains, and somehow managing to move his hump from the left shoulder to the right, when Zeus, in a very loud Zeus voice, commanded Hephaestus. God, there's that name again. Hephaestus. Who was the god of smiths and master of crafts, to create a dazzlingly beautiful woman that no one could resist. And Zeus meant no one, including Olympian, mortal, everything supernatural, the old man who complains about kids running on his lawn, and those annoying children who won't take no for an answer, and leaves you no choice but to buy those delicious shortbread cookies, bars of chocolate, disgusting pizzas, and stale tins of popcorn, completely ignoring the fact that you're on a very strict diet because you want to go to Monte Carlo this year for the season. And yes, even the Becky and Karens of the world wouldn't be able to resist this woman. Now, chickens, as a witness to all of this, I nearly spit up my Arnold Palmer when Zeus suggested Aphrodite be the model for this task. I mean, really. It was clear Aphrodite was about 2 centimeters away from having to have her thyroid gland removed due to the protruding goiter she always tried to cover up with a carefully placed scarf. Don't even get me started about her back acne. Well, apparently Hephaestus could see past all of that. The god had to be half blind. And once the breathtaking sculpture of water and clay was done, the 4 winds breathed life into it. Think Frosty the Snowman, except it didn't involve a top hat. Nor did the creation say happy birthday when she came to life. Now, wouldn't it be nice to stop right there and send this new creature down to Earth? Well, as if! Zeus was far from done, and after a little coaxing, the Olympians did what any bitter person would do, and they created a bitch. So remember the part of that cartoon/ballet/movie when all the fairies came around and bestowed gifts upon the baby Aurora? Well, it was kind of like that with the Greek gods. Aphrodite stood in front of the woman and gave her unparalleled beauty, grace, and desire. That didn't seem too bad, and I clapped my hand on Aphrodite's back for a job well done, and quickly rubbed away any pimple pus that might have rubbed off. Now, Hermes, the god's herald and messenger, and god of commerce, cunning, and theft, was a bit pissed that Aphrodite always managed not to see the point of a test, and he spitefully gave the woman a cunning and deceitful mind, and a crafty tongue, which I'm sure most men would feel the latter was a true plus. Athena, always the I guess I'll have to rise above it all, dressed the woman in a gown of silk and the finest gold, and taught her to be skillful and clever with her hands. Now, dear ones, I have no idea if Athena homeschooled the woman, or the woman went to a community college or took some online courses. So don't ask me about how she managed to accomplish that. Clearly underwhelmed by Athena's gift, Poseidon decided he would show everyone how it was done. Truth be told, both I and Poseidon felt the dress definitely looked like it came off the rack from any dress barn or Chico's in the Tri-Olympus area. So he bestowed upon the woman a very rare and incredibly powerful pearl necklace. And I know what you're thinking, you dirty, dirty chickens. Well, it would ensure that the woman would never drown, both fashionable and functional. Apollo, the Olympic Switzerland equivalent, taught the woman to play the lyre and to sing, because we all know everyone loves an old-fashioned root beer float and lyre singing party. Not. It was at this point that Zeus became very irritated that the Olympians were missing the point, and decided to cut to the chase. Upon the woman he bestowed a foolish, mischievous, and idle nature. His doormat/fishwife, Hera, not wanting to be outdone, gave the woman the wiliest gift of all that would lead to the woman's undoing. She gave the woman curiosity. And so, ta-da! The first woman was born, and she descended to Earth. She was named Pandora, which meant all gifted, or all gifts given to her by the gods. Now, during her descent, Hermes, gliding along with her, because what else does he have to do, presented her with a gilded and intricately carved box, proclaiming it was a gift from Zeus, with the explicit warning never to open it, regardless of the situation. Leave the box shut and locked. Hermes presented Pandora to Epimetheus, Prometheus's brother, who upon first sight fell deeply, passionately, and hopelessly in love with Pandora. He was so enchanted with Pandora, so hopelessly spellbound by her, that he immediately asked her to marry him, completely forgetting his brother's warning to never accept anything from the gods. Prometheus knew for a fact that Zeus still held a grudge about what Prometheus had done. How could he not, dear chickens? The eagle had just landed and began to tear through his flesh to get to his liver. And this is how stupid Epimetheus was, because his brother was actually chained to a rock in their Hamptons estate front yard. It's not like you could ignore Prometheus' screams of pain, especially after Eleanor's annual beach party, which usually ended sometime late the following day. On their wedding day, which took place at the Hamptons estate, with Prometheus screaming in the background throughout the entire ceremony and well into the reception, which I must state was incredible, and attended by all of the NYC housewives. Dorinda loved it. Anyway, Hermes standing in as best man because nobody could find the key to Prometheus's chains, and there were few in attendance who wanted to interrupt the eagle as it was enjoying tea and raw liver at the time of the ceremony, leaned over to Epimetheus and whispered, "Persephone is a gift to you by Zeus as a peace offering, and that all has been forgiven." Really? This has to go down into the rule books as the moment Epimetheus epitomized the phrase, young, dumb, and full of... Well, I think you get the picture. Because if all were forgiven, why was his brother still chained to the rock in the middle of the rose garden? Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a gardener who will ignore the extremely good-looking and built like a brick shite house god chained to a boulder, screaming his guts out as a rather large eagle tears into his body each and every day? Well, let me tell you, you have to pay double time and give 2 sizable bonuses each year, and even then they turn out to be the worst. Who could possibly believe tulips are weeds, for goodness sakes? Well, the deed was done. The couple danced their first dance, cut and smashed the cake in each other's faces, wondered if the hokey pokey was what it was all about, and off they went on their honeymoon to Universal Studios Orlando, as they had visited the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Upon their return, life slowed down considerably, and domestic bliss settled onto the happy couple. Well, bliss for the most part. Poor Pandora couldn't put her box out of her mind. She loved her box. She often played with her box, ran a feather duster over her box. She kept her box well oiled, and would even finger her box's keyhole. You dirty, dirty boys and girls. Pandora could always come up with some sort of excuse as to why she couldn't go over to the Goldbergs for bridge or Hearts Night, and she often deceived her husband into thinking she was somewhere doing something. All the while she would sit and look at her box, trying to imagine what sort of beautiful mystery could be found in its depths. At this point, Hera's gift of curiosity became unbearable, and Pandora couldn't take it any more. She had an itch that needed scratching, and that itch was her box. Having sent her beloved husband off to pick up a gallon of milk, bread, and a carton of Lucky Strikes unfiltered cigarettes, truthfully a disgusting habit, Pandora went into her adorable kitchen nook with the red and white check drapes, and sat the box on the nook's table. The morning sunlight glimmered across her box, and the key Pandora held in her hand grew warm. Carefully, with hand shaking, Pandora eased the key, at first only the tip, into the golden lock and turned the key. The room suddenly grew deathly cold, as the box's gold leaf melted away, exposing its true nature of a thing not of beauty, but a rusted, corrupt vessel. Before she could turn the key to lock the box, realizing she had made a horrible mistake, the lid flew open, and a stench made her retch that can only be described as an overflowing diaper shoved into a rotting corpse, which was then sprayed heavily with Elizabeth Taylor's White Diamonds perfume. Truly horrifying. All of the evil feelings of hatred and rage, along with everything else that would plague mortals forever, sickness, death, turmoil, strife, jealousy, hatred, the Kardashians, white shoes worn after Labor Day, Donatella Versace's plastic surgeon, Screech from Saved by the Bell, and Joanna and Chip Gaines took flight. These evils, now released, immediately began overtaking the world, fearing that something worse would escape the box. I know, chickens. It's hard to believe that anything could be worse than, oh, I don't know, Scott Baio thinking that everyone wants to hear his political views of the world? Not likely. But she did fear that something worse would escape the box. So Pandora slammed it shut, just as the final item, that was actually incredibly beautiful and quite different from the other items released, was about to take flight. With the box shut and locked, Pandora realized she meant nothing to the gods. She was just a toy, created to deliver death and destruction to the earth. And realizing this, she began to weep, sorrow overtaking her about what she had done. Suddenly, a light began to glow from the box, and a warmth held and enveloped her. Kind of like the way you feel after finishing a really good hot yoga class. I think you get the idea. What was doing this to Pandora? Well, chickens, it was hope. Hope was that final thing she had stopped from escaping from the box. By not allowing hope to fly away, the human race could and would survive anything Zeus's evils could do. As you see, hope truly springs eternal. And before you ask, I'll tell you what happened after that. Although it took centuries of marriage counseling and countless therapy sessions for Pandora, Epimetheus and Pandora lived a wonderful life, at least until the next Olympian War, and that story is best reserved for another day. My name is Dr. Sebastian Brackenridge, Duke of Brackenridge. Thank you for listening. Oh, one other point, ducks. If you like this recording and wish to hear my other podcasts, you can visit www.dr-sebastian-brackenridge.com. I'll have the link to this website, to my Facebook page, and anything else that I have to do for social media available to you. Once again, thank you, and good day.